The Law of One, Session 25, February 16, 1981.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, asking first what cause or complex of causes has led to the instrument's chest cold, as it is called.
Ra, I am Ra. This distortion towards illness was caused by the free will of the instrument in accepting a chemical substance which you call LSD. This was carefully planned by those entities which do not desire this instrument to remain viable. The substance has within it the facility of removing large stores of vital energy from the ingester. The first hope of the Orion entity which arranged this opportunity was that this instrument would become less polarized towards what you call the positive. Due to conscious efforts upon the part of this instrument, using the substance as a programmer for service to others and for thankfulness, this instrument was spared this distortion and there was no result satisfactory to the Orion group. The second hope lay in the possible misuse of the most powerful means of transmission of energy between your peoples in the area of body complex distortions. We have not previously spoken of the various types of energy blockages and transfers, positive and negative, that may take place due to participation in your sexual reproductive complex of actions. This entity, however, is a very strong entity with very little distortion from universal green ray love energy. Thus this particular plan was not affected either, as the entity continued to give of itself in this context in an open or green ray manner rather than attempting to receive or to manipulate other self. The only remaining distortion available, since this entity would not detune and would not cease sharing love universally under this chemical substance, was simply to drain this entity of as much energy as possible. This entity has a strong distortion towards busyness which it has been attempting to overcome for some time, realizing it not to be the appropriate attitude for this work. In this particular area the ingestion of this substance did indeed, shall we say, cause distortions away from viability due to the busyness and the lack of desire to rest, this instrument staying alert for much longer than appropriate. Thus much vital energy was lost, making this instrument unusually susceptible to infections such as it now experiences.
Questioner, the second question the instrument requested was, how may I best revitalize myself not only now but in the future?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument is aware of the basic needs of its constitution, those being meditation, acceptance of limitations, experiences of joy through association with others and with the beauty as of the singing, and the exercising with great contact, whenever possible, with the life forces of second density, especially those of trees, this entity also needing to be aware of the moderate but steady intake of foodstuffs, exercise being suggested at a fairly early portion of the day and at a later portion of the day before the resting.
Questioner, the third question that she requested to be asked was, how may Don and Jim help to revitalize me?
Ra, I am Ra. This is not an appropriate question for full answer. We can say only that these entities are most conscientious. We may add that due to this instrument's distortion towards imbalance in the space/time nexus, it would be well were this entity accompanied during exercise.
Questioner, thank you. We shall now continue with the material from yesterday. You stated that about 3,000 years ago the Orion group left due to diaspora. Was the Confederation then able to make any progress after the Orion group left?
Ra, I am Ra. For many of your centuries, both the Confederation and the Orion Confederation busied themselves with each other upon planes above your own, shall we say, planes in time/space whereby machinations were conceived and the armor of light girded on. Battles have been and are continuing to be fought upon these levels. Upon the Earth plane, energies had been set in motion which did not cause a great deal of call. There were isolated instances of callings, one such taking place beginning approximately 2600–2600 of your years in the past in what you would call Greece at this time, and resulting in writings and understandings of some facets of the law of one. We especially note the one known as Thales and the one known as Heraclitus, those being of the philosopher career, as you may call it, teaching their students. We also point out the understandings of the one known as Pericles. At this time there was a limited amount of visionary information which the Confederation was allowed to telepathically impress. However, for the most part, during this time empires died and rose according to the attitudes and energies set in motion long ago, not resulting in strong polarization but rather in that mixture of the positive and the warlike or negative which has been characteristic of this final minor cycle of your beingness.
Questioner: You spoke of an Orion Confederation and a battle being fought between the Confederation and the Orion Confederation. Is it possible to convey any concept of how this battle is fought?
Ra, I am Ra. Picture, if you will, your mind. Picture it then in total unity with all other minds of your society. You are then single-minded, and that which is a weak electrical charge in your physical illusion is now an enormously powerful machine whereby thoughts may be projected as things. In this endeavor the Orion group charges or attacks the Confederation arms with light. The result, a standoff, as you would call it, both energies being somewhat depleted by this and needing to regroup, the negative depleted through failure to manipulate, the positive depleted through failure to accept that which is given.
Questioner: Could you amplify the meaning of what you said by failure to accept that which is given?
Ra, I am Ra. At the level of time/space at which this takes place in the form of what you may call thought war, the most accepting and loving energy would be to so love those who wished to manipulate that those entities were surrounded, engulfed, and transformed by positive energies. This, however, being a battle of equals, the Confederation is aware that it cannot, on equal footing, allow itself to be manipulated in order to remain purely positive, for then though pure it would not be of any consequence, having been placed by the so-called powers of darkness under the heel, as you may say. It is thus that those who deal with this thought war must be defensive rather than accepting in order to preserve their usefulness in service to others. Thusly, they cannot accept fully what the Orion Confederation wishes to give, that being enslavement. Thusly, some polarity is lost due to this friction, and both sides, if you will, must then regroup. It has not been fruitful for either side. The only consequence which has been helpful is a balancing of the energies available to this planet so that these energies have less necessity to be balanced in this space/time, thus lessening the chances of planetary annihilation.
Questioner: Very important point, I believe. Does a portion of the Confederation then engage in this thought battle? What percentage engages?
Ra, I am Ra. This is the most difficult work of the Confederation. Only 4 planetary entities at any one time are asked to partake in this conflict.
Questioner: What density are these 4 planetary entities?
Ra, I am Ra. These entities are of the density of love, numbering 4.
Questioner: Then I am assuming this is the most effective density for this work. Would this density and entity of this density be more effective for this type of work than, say, an entity of density 5 or 6?
Ra, I am Ra. The 4th density is the only density besides your own which, lacking the wisdom to refrain from battle, sees the necessity of the battle. Thus it is necessary that 4th density social memory complexes be used.
Questioner: Am I correct in assuming, then, that 4th density on both sides of both the Orion and the Confederation sides are in this battle, and that the densities 5th and 6th on the Orion side do not engage in this? Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This will be the last full question as this entity's energies are low. It is partially correct. 5th and 6th density entities positive would not take part in this battle. 5th density negative would not take part in this battle. Thus, the 4th density of both orientations join in this conflict. May we ask for a few short questions before we close?
Questioner, well, I will first ask the answer at the end if there's anything we can do to make the instrument really comfortable. I'll only ask the questions that the instrument has or answer the questions that the instrument has energy left to give, but I really would like to know of the orientation of 5th density negative for not participating in this battle.
Ra, I am Ra. The 5th density is the density of light or wisdom. The so-called negative service to self entity in this density is at an high level of awareness and wisdom and has ceased activity except by thought. The 5th density negative is extraordinarily compacted and separated from all else.
Questioner, thank you very much. We do not wish to deplete the instrument, so is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable?
Ra, I am Ra. You are very conscientious. As we requested previously, it would be well to observe the angles taken by the more upright posture of the entity. It is causing some nerve blockage in the portion of the body complex called the elbows. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai.